Good morning, beautiful people. How are you all? I hope you're well. I am well. I am utterly shattered. I am done in, but happy. And actually, because we're a little bit out of order with videos at the moment. So this is welcome to Thoughts on month 62. Oh my goodness. Normally this would be right at the end of the month. However, I'm doing this today. It's actually Monday the 27th of June. You'll see it Tuesday. Because my body, I'm so shattered from the garden. I'm having a day off the garden. I'm not having a day off. I had a day off the garden. There are myriad things for me to get on with indoors. Everything's been a bit neglected. Because, and I suppose it's kind of like the big story for month 62, I've just been desperately trying to play catch up with the garden. So I made a note of dates so I wouldn't get things wrong. I did the, I'm going to talk, sorry, gather your thoughts with me. I'm going to talk about the garden for a bit. This isn't a gardening video, but in a way, when I started doing these thoughts on at the end of the month, excuse me, glug, the whole point was to just sort of reflect on how that month had gone in terms of me being self-reliant, as self-sufficient as possible, basically living without a wage. So, and obviously the garden is a huge part of that because it's my food. So, look, it's no secret, I've been behind all year. And every time I've just got going, like at the beginning of March, I was really getting back into things, having, obviously I was in hospital at the end of January going into February. And then for the sort of 3 weeks, the remaining 3 weeks of February, I was very much at home, just trying to go slow, convalesce, recuperate, what have you. I was working at home because that's the thing I think about the sort of, being self-sufficient, self-reliant is you do need to be working and generating and being productive kind of all the time, really. So I used sort of like towards the end of February, that's when I was just sewing every day from dawn till dusk, doing the lovely lavender bags, and I think they went on sale on the 6th of March, something like that, just in terms of time scales. So yeah, January and February, I just really wasn't in the garden at all, apart from occasional visits to go and pick some harvests. But in terms of doing any work, that didn't happen. So we go into March, and anyone who does grow their own will know that sort of March, April, May, that's the big work every year, as well as September and October. That's another big chunk of work. But yeah, March, April, May, that's kind of the crux of the growing year happens there. And because things went pear-shaped last year because Auntie Teapot died right at the beginning of March. So the whole of March was taken up with, funeral arrangements, being in touch with family members who are all over the world. So there's a lot of, toing and froing with emails, what have you. But also the beginning of the process of wrapping up her affairs. So lots and lots of time on phones, trying to get bills sorted, all that sort of thing. Anyway, I won't go over that old ground too much, but so I missed the whole of March in the garden last year, and then as the year went on, I missed loads of time as well because I was having to go down to her house to sort things out, and then I got chicken pox, and it was like, it wasn't a write-off last year. I got a great harvest in the end, just about, but the reason I'm mentioning that now is because it impacts on this year. There was some point, I think it was in December, I remember there was an evening sitting quietly in the flat, a bit of music on, what have you, and I sat down with an A4 pad and I sort of went backwards in my mind over the garden year of 2021 to look at where, you know, where things had gone wrong, or because it wasn't so much that things went wrong, but I just didn't have the time. So, for example, doing all the bed prep, that got squashed into, I think it was like the end of May, beginning of April. Anyway, the winter we've just had, on that occasion when I sat down with my pad, I thought I can't go through that kind of pressure again, because it was pressure, the mental pressure to get it all done, but then the physical pressure of going to the garden day after day after day to dig. I just knew I didn't ever want to do that again. It was horrible. So I came up with a plan, and on paper it was a great plan. And what I'd done was I sort of worked backwards to think, right, you know, when do plants need to actually go into the ground? Now, that's kind of a bit of almost like a no-brainer for me, because I've been doing it for years now. So working backwards from when it goes into the ground, when do I need to start the seeds, etc. But that kind of timing, it's in here anyway. I just do it every year. Somehow my body knows I need to get on with those seeds. What I was thinking of specifically was, if it needs to go in the ground on, say, May the 20th, that bed needs to be prepared by then. So that's what I did. I worked backwards in terms of which bed needs to be ready first. Potatoes, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Which beds, like by the end of March, the onion beds need to be ready for the onions to go in, and so on. Yeah, it was a great plan. Didn't happen. And part of that plan had been to say, so the big thing I think in this kind of self-sufficient life is balancing all the I'm sure some of you, I know some of you because you write to me about it, are in a similar situation. You've got so many irons in the fire to keep yourself going, keep life turning over. So my plan, the whole idea with this plan was that obviously the garden is really important because it's my food, but also it's my solace, it's my social life, it's my gym, it's my church, it's my social club, it's all those things. But it can't be every day. That's the point. It can't be every day. I need to keep all the other irons hot in the fire. So that plan was a really sensible plan that involved 3 days, just 3 days a week going to the garden. And the idea being that those 3 days is manageable both in terms of keeping all my other irons in the fire and manageable for my body, you know, the physical stress of doing it. So it's a case of, you know, on 2 of those visits, dig, prepare a bed. On 1 of the visits, do either some seed sowing or some of the usual maintenance, the strimming, trimming, weeding, all those other bits and pieces we do in the garden. It would have been great. Well, we know by now that it all went a bit pear-shaped. It's like a bit pear-shaped. So, you know, I'd got back into the rhythm of getting to the garden at the beginning of March. I still felt a bit tired and a bit chesty, but it was okay. I was getting back into it. And then I wrecked my back, stupidly reaching for my porridge one morning. And weirdly, because in the past, I've tweaked back muscles loads of times in my life. Who hasn't, you know, tall girl problems. And usually it's sort of, I'm pretty much right again after a week. You know, have a couple of days, oh, that's really naughty. Keep doing my stretches, keep doing my yoga. But this year it went on for 4 weeks. So I lost those 4 weeks in the garden. And of course now this month I had this stupid blimmin' COVID, which I think I tested positive on the 2nd of June. Excuse me. So that's gone. So here we are at the end of month 62. It's the end of June. We're halfway through the year. And in these first 6 months of the year, I've been out of action for 3.5 months. Crazy. Really really this year ought to be a write-off, but you know what, it's not. It's never a write-off. So back to the garden, I'd put a picture on my Facebook page. Excuse me a sec, I've got a real tickle, hang on. That's better, sorry about that. Yeah, I went back to the garden, I think it was the 16th of June, I went back to the garden for the first time since the end of May. Did the June tour, oh my goodness, and I don't think, even if you're not a gardener, you could see that that is not a productive food garden. And discovered that so many of my beans had been completely mullered. And I'd put a picture of that on Facebook, and a lady had replied to say, well, it doesn't really matter, does it, because you're giving up the garden. And I'm not saying this now as a way of picking on her, but just to clarify. The thing is, it really does matter this year. Obviously, if it was next year, it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't have the garden. But it does matter this year because I have spent, apart from that chunk of sowing I did at the end of February, I have spent every minute since the beginning of March in the garden or being ill. In other words, I haven't done all the other things. All those other irons in my fire have been completely neglected for the garden. So at this stage, I cannot afford, or say, you know, when all the beans got mullered, I can't afford to just put my hands up and go, oh, well, never mind, the garden's a fail this year, walk away. I can't do that because I've already invested so much in it by way of time. So, coming back to this month now, that means that since the 16th, and it's the 27th today, so in the intervening 10 days, 11 days, yeah, it's been about 11 days, I've been in the garden every day apart from today, and there was a day a week ago or so when it was the really hot day here. I mean, we've been quite hot and I've been out there in the heat, but it was the really hot day, and I just thought, nah, not today. And I had a load of stuff to get on with indoors anyway, as I always do. So yeah, that's why my body is a bit like at the moment. Like I say, really tired but happy. I have been so focused and determined to get this garden going this year. And I'd sort of said to myself after that June tour that we had 2 more weeks of June left. There's still 3 more days, I can still do it. And I sort of said to myself that day when I did the tour, give yourself until the end of June, it's 2 weeks, get this garden in, get this garden done. I mean, as much as the garden's ever done. It's never done, it's always developing and changing. And that's what I've done. I have been utterly single-minded about it. I've quite enjoyed that in a way, because normally it's all that irons in the fire. It's normally juggling so many things, and in a way it's been really easy for the last 10 days to just say, right, put everything else to the side, don't even think about it, don't worry about it. I mean, you can see probably over my shoulder there's all of this is work waiting to happen. On my sewing table there's work waiting to happen. Over on the ironing board over there's work waiting to happen. Normally that would drive me insane, like, oh my god, you get on with it. And it's almost like I've given myself permission to say, ignore absolutely everything apart from the garden. And that will be worth it because, oh my goodness, I have faith in myself. I do have faith in myself that by the end of June, that garden will be in. Well, it will be in as much as it would normally be in. Looking at the days that are left in June and what's left to do in the garden in terms of getting plants out, bits and pieces, I think I can do it. I really think I can do it. And then as we go into July, it will be the normal July jobs. So for example, I will not be getting brassicas in before the end of June, But quite often I don't, because they follow on from onions, from the garlic, from the broad beans. So all of those beds will need clearing. But I'm okay with that. That will happen in July. I know it will happen in July. I'm not worried about it. So, in a nutshell, yeah. I'm just looking at really thick grey clouds. Maybe I've chosen the perfect day to be too floppy to garden. I thought it would be really sensible. I woke up this morning and I just thought, I just don't have anything today. So it's probably better to stay at home, rest the old legs a bit, rest my whole body. I've got, sort of like tricep aches from moving stuff around the garden. Everything aches. So yeah, have a day off the garden, have a rest day at home, catch up with other staff. I've got lots of admin-y things to do. And then go back to the garden tomorrow, hit the ground running. By hook or by crook. I was thinking this last night as I was drifting off to sleep. I don't know what prompted it. I'd obviously heard something on the radio. And it was about, describe yourself in one word. And I thought, well, do you know what? This month, my one word to describe me is tenacious. I am not letting go of that garden just yet. So, there we go. We're out of order with videos. I've been out of order with the garden. But in terms of self-sufficiency, living without a wage, it wouldn't normally be a great idea to only focus on one thing. But in this instance, I think it has been the right thing to do. Because, once all those plants are in the ground, once all those beds are seeded, it will get to the stage in July, and after the brassicas are in, I will get to the stage where I can visit the garden in the morning to do my watering. It takes about a 3-hour chunk out of my day. Go and get that done first thing, and then I can come back, and then the rest of the day I can get on with all those other irons in the fire. There's sewing. There's a new section for my shop, and I've talked about it a number of times. And I honestly thought I was going to get it done. I really wanted to get it done. Well, originally, on my original plan for the year, it was going to open at the end of March, and then, got poorly. So, and then I knew it wasn't going to happen at the end of April, because that's when my back was awful, and sitting at the computer to do everything was too much. And I thought, yeah, let's go for it. We'll do it for the end of May. End of May. I can't even remember the end of May now, and it's certainly not going to happen for the end of June. But yeah, the garden will get to the stage when I can start paying attention to all those other things. And they're things I want to do as well, things I've been looking forward to doing. So I will be glad. I think realistically, July is going to be a busy month. It's my birthday month. My birthday's at the beginning of July, and I've got quite a few bits and pieces on for that. And then, of course, later in the month, I'm going off with my sister for a few days. So yeah, maybe August. Maybe August will be the month when I say, right, now I can sit down and properly do some sewing. I think the biggest lesson, undoubtedly, sorry, I'll wrap this up now. I feel like all I've talked about is the garden, but of course, that's what my life has been. My biggest takeaway from this month for myself is, you know what? We just never know. We never know what's around the corner. We never know what life is going to throw at us. And if you are like me, if you're quite organised, if you're a planner, I mean, I really am a planner. I love my notebooks. I love, like with the garden, making my plan of the garden, as in, I sketch the whole garden out. Lists, all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing is to remain flexible. be okay with changing your plans, adjusting your plans. Be okay with letting things go. I don't mean letting the garden go in terms of, oh, I'm just going to let the weeds grow, whatever, but letting things go in terms of, I might have a fallow bed this year, or, you know, I didn't do the bean arches over the paths. Just let that go. Let it go. It's not going to happen. Adjust your plans so that you can be realistic in terms of what energy have you got. And undoubtedly I've still got this kind of, you know, post-viral fatigue going on. I've heard from some folk that 5-6 months later they still have moments of total exhaustion and they just have to stop and take the day off. I can't completely stop and take a day off, but I can adjust my plan and say, like today, my body is just too tired to go to the garden, but it's not too tired. For instance, you might be able to hear it in the background, the washing machine is on because I've got a load of vintage lace and ribbons and bits and pieces that I'm washing. So later on I'll stand at the ironing board with the radio on, because I'll talk about this more another day, because today's the first day of it's Wimbledon fortnight. You know what? Actually, I'll just say this very quickly. I've been talking for ages. I must shut up. Sorry. This shows how wonky my year has been. Anyone who's been following me for a while, everybody by now knows how much I love sport. I am an absolute sport nut. Give me the Olympics every year. I want the Olympics on 24/7. I want it on every single day. I love athletics. I love track and road cycling. Oh, Tour de France soon as well. I love my summer sports. I love all sport, but my absolute uber sport, my everything stops for, is tennis. Be still my beating heart. This is how crazy this year has been. I have completely missed the French Open, Roland Garros. I've completely missed Queen's, which is the men's grass tournament, and that's our first chance to see the guys on grass. That's when they're transitioning out of the clay season onto grass, and the grass season is so short. This is our first chance to see them. The next week we have Eastbourne, which is the women on grass. Again, first chance to see how they're transitioning off the clay. And then Wimbledon. Wah! So I haven't seen Roland Garros, I haven't seen Queen's, I haven't seen Eastbourne. I've got no idea. I don't even know what the seedings are. I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's injured. Is Andy playing? All I do know is Serena is playing. And I am team Serena every day of the week. So I'm getting excited. So, oh, Vivi's got energy suddenly. Yeah, darn right I have. So yeah, that kind of reflects how utterly wonky this year has been. But, right, okay, bottom line, and then I'm going to shut up. We're halfway through the year. It has been a really naughty year so far. If I could put this year on the naughty step, I would, and I'd make it sit there for at least half an hour. I might even slap its bum a bit. No, I don't promote corporal punishment. Not even for this naughty year. It has been such a naughty year, but I'm still here, you know? I'm here, I'm happy. I was going to say I'm surviving, but I actually think I'm thriving as well. I'm thriving. It's kind of great. It's great. I don't know. It's starting to rain. Oh, we've got rain. That means I don't have to go to the garden and water. Yes, come on, rain. More. Yeah, honestly, I don't know how I've managed it this year so far, but I have somehow, and I think it's purely down to this. It is that tenacity, it's stubbornness, it's sheer bloody mindedness at times, and that thing of, maybe I'm competitive. I always say I'm not competitive, but maybe it's that thing of, I refuse, you are not going to beat me. it kind of reminds me of this time last year when the year was being tricky, and I was saying, I can't remember the end of which month it was. It must have been around this time of year because it was tennis time. And I was saying, you know, life is like a 5-set match. I can lose the first 2 sets. I've lost 2 sets, but I haven't lost the match. I'm not beaten yet. And that's exactly how I feel right now. That despite everything, life is jolly good. I need to collapse now. You know what I need to do now? I'm going to round things up because I need to go and get on my computer and find out what the seeding is for Wimbledon. I need to catch up on the tennis world gossip. Can't wait. All right, lovelies. I will see you again really soon. It will be in the garden again because that's everything that's happening at the moment. There's probably going to be quite a few gardening videos. But I've got another chatty video lined up because I've had some lovely posts. I've had a couple of things that I want to grumble about with you all. Soon, next time. But for today, lots of love to you all. Be well, look after yourselves, look after each other. Look out for friends and other people. See you all soon. Cheerio.